The loudest lessons in life aren't always heard in the classroom. It's heard in the quietest moments when the world finally pauses and you can hear your own heartbeat. If my 6-year-old self could see me today, I think she would look at me with wide eyes, not because of the accomplishments or not because of the titles, but because I simply kept on going. She would see that the little girl who once thought that life was all about classrooms and grades found meaning in teamwork, friendships, music, dance, and the joy of giving back. She'd see that the little girl who stumbled, tried once again, finally found her pulse and discovered her passion in many things. And I think she would whisper back to me, "I'm glad you never gave up." Hi, I'm Shreya, and just like many of you who are sitting here today, I was also stumbling into different classes and highly stressed about my grades, thinking if that was what life was really meant to be. But soon I discovered that that was not life because I felt like the moments that shaped me into who I am today mostly came from beyond the well after the classroom, where I discovered my purpose, my passion, and kept on striving hard. So that is exactly what I'll be talking about, my journey of not perfection, but of persistence. So one of the first places where I found my pulse in my life was through leadership. I always thought that leadership meant knowing all the answers. As a small girl, I would sit in assemblies and look high up at the school parliament members walking on the stage. They carried themselves with so much grace, confidence, and kindness. To me, they weren't just seniors, they were my role models, and they embodied everything I wanted to become one day. Honestly, to me, they were like my superheroes, more like superwomen, and I always used to think that they used to hide the superpower behind in their black blazers. But back then, I never imagined that one day I would stand in the same place where they stood. But in a way, their example planted a seed in me that leadership is not about power, it is about presence. Years later, I was honored to serve as the assistant head girl and later the school head girl. And this is what I learned. Leadership is not standing above others, but walking beside them. It is more about listening than speaking, lifting than leading. Teamwork really does make the dream work. Together, we did not just organize events, but we inspired one another to grow. Now, let me talk about another part of my life, which is not at all glamorous, which is not at all a highlight reel. It is about math. So from grade 6 to 8, I used to feel like math was a locked door for me. It was like I used to try, but yet I used to still score low marks. And I tried once again, but it felt like the door just stayed shut for me. So I just constantly decided to tell myself that I was just not a maths person. I accept it. This sentence became a label. And you all know that labels are quite hard to carry, right? It was more like maths and me was in a very toxic relationship where I kept going back, but math just kept rejecting me for no reason. But when in grade 9, that is when the pandemic came. And suddenly, in all that stillness, something softened. I taught myself patience and persistence. Slowly, it began feeling like I started to enjoy a subject that I once feared. And let me tell you how I did it. I started small, one small concept at a time, one small problem at a time, and one patient mistake at a time. I can happily say that some days the wins were just understanding why I went wrong. But slowly these small wins stacked up, and I can happily say that math didn't become easy for me. It's just that I became a braver person. This experience taught me one of the most important lessons that I learned in life as a human and as a student. Persistence rewrites identity. You don't have to be born as a maths person. You just have to be a human being who stays, who breathes, and who never gives up. I can say that beyond the bell, I didn't just study math, I just became a more resilient version of myself. So let's go on to the next part, the struggles. So with leadership and power, there are many struggles. With growth, there are many struggles. Most of us daily struggle through self-doubt, stress, and burnout every single day. I can confidently say that mental health and success are not separate from each other. In fact, mental health is the foundation of success. For me, showing up meant showing up even on the days which I didn't feel the best of myself. On some days, showing up meant opening my laptop screen, staring at it for 30 minutes, and then blaming that it was the Wi-Fi's fault. It also meant admitting that rest, asking for help, and vulnerability aren't weaknesses, but acts of courage. I used to think that strength means it was never breaking, but eventually I learned that strength means knowing how to heal. Let's move on to the next part now. So, as my world widened, so did my sense of responsibility. I took interest in environmental sustainability not because it was a trend, but as a duty to the future which we are all walking into. In 2023, I was humbled to be chosen as one of the 50 Masdar Youth for Sustainability ambassadors among entries from all over the world under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. But for me, representing my school in sustainability missions was not about the title. It was more like a constant reminder that our individual pulses sync to form a heartbeat for causes that are greater than ourselves. Now, let's move on to the next part. So this spirit of service is what carried me into medicine. Medicine, like most of you think, is not just about science. It's about story, care, and compassion. Daily, I use the tools that I learned beyond the bell in my medical studies. That is teamwork, conscience, compassion, resilience. Most of you think that medicine is a very hard and most demanding path where we have to constantly overwork, hours of studying, and yes, I do agree with all of that. But for me, the weight of these challenges was balanced by something that is even more greater and powerful. That is my passion. It is my passion that fueled me to stay awake beyond the bell, not just to study for the exams, but to understand that service can change lives. Medicine is not just about books and knowledge. It is about listening and healing. So now I want to say one most important thing to all of you. You all might think that AI is taking over, and that is the current talk, right? Artificial intelligence, machines, replacing our roles, be it in engineering, medicine, art, or even our lives. But let me tell you something. AI can assist, AI can inform, but never, and I mean never, can it replace human compassion, human creativity, and human purpose. So, what I would like to say to you all is that find your spark in your own life, something that excites you, something that drives you to do the best of your abilities. Because when passion fuels you, all the challenges in your way become your stepping stones to reach your purpose in a more faster way. And I am telling you that no machine, no technology will take away from you what is uniquely yours, your passion, your purpose, your pulse. So that, my friends, is how I found my pulse, not once, but again and again. And you could find yours too, be it in a sports field, on the stage, in a lab, in a sketchbook, or even inside an idea that refuses to leave your mind. So, when the bell rings, please do not walk away. Stay curious, stay brave, and keep finding and looking for your pulse, because that very pulse is what is going to take you one day far and beyond the classroom. I would like to thank my alma mater for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak today. Thank you.